Well, I am Todd Staples, but I'm running for Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Texas, and so I'm glad to be here along with you, Longview with you tonight. You can't always believe what you hear in the press or on typos. She was kind enough to rearrange some things, and probably that just didn't get drug over in the right spot.
It's too cold today.
It is cold today, isn't it? But I'm glad to be here in a warm environment with each of you. I'm very glad that my wife Janet's here with me tonight. Jan and I don't always get to travel that much together because Texas is an awfully big state, isn't it? Somebody asked me when I was elected Ag Commissioner what I thought about it, traveling all over the state, and I said, well, it ain't Delaware. And aren't you glad we're not? I tell you what, we're excited to be in Longview tonight. I'm excited that you're here and you're fighting for the principles that built this great nation, and that you have not abandoned those principles, because that is the key to prosperity. And we know, I grew up in Palestine. Palestine's my home. When I was elected Ag Commissioner, Jan looked at me and said, the Constitution may require you to live in Austin, but it doesn't require me to. So Palestine really is still our home, and she is a great partner to have in public service, and that's what I think that serving in office is about. It's really about serving, it's about giving back, and that's what each of you do. You're involved, you care about our state and our nation, and you're fighting for these principles. And that's why I'm running for lieutenant governors, because we cannot abandon the principles that built us, that made us the greatest state and the greatest nation in the world. But unfortunately today, we have too many people that are doing just that. I'm a little bit more than just concerned about the National Republican Party that spent $10 million on a study to reinvent themselves. Folks, I don't think we need to redefine ourselves. We need to rededicate ourselves to the principles that built the best economy the world's ever seen. And I got to tell you, holding your meetings here in a church sends the right message about what those values really are. If more people would adhere to the precepts that are taught in our houses of worship here, express their faith in God. I accepted Christ as my Savior when I was 6 years old. You wouldn't need half the politicians you have running around today, I tell you that. I did grow up in East Texas. I'm very glad to have grown up there, and that's our home today, technically. I have served on my hometown city council. I was recruited for public service by my high school ag teacher. He called me on a telephone on a Saturday morning. We had 3 city managers in 2 years. And he called me up and said, we want you to run for city council. And I said, thanks, but no thanks. He got kind of quiet on the phone and said, we gave to you, it's time for you to give back. So I told him what all former high school FFA members tell their ag teachers. I said, yes, sir. And I think that service is really what it's all about. It's been an honor to serve in the Texas House for 6 years and the Texas Senate for 6 years, where I was ranked among the top conservatives in both chambers. I'm very proud to have carried the constitutional amendment defining marriage as between one man and one woman. When God redefines marriage, I will too. I'm very proud of the fact that I was A-rated by pro-life groups and by the NRA for standing for my values and standing for my principles. And it is very troubling, Mike, to hear the presentation about the business group that has in their stated message going after Tea Party and the principles and the candidates. Folks, as I understand what my thought and process is about the Tea Party, the things that motivate me, I want a federal government to live within its spending. I want a federal government to not tax us. I want to stand up for our rights and our values. You should not be attacked for standing up for that, and we are doomed for failure if that's the philosophy that leads our state. And as Lieutenant Governor, I want to tell you that I don't want to sacrifice our conservative values and our conservative principles. And I want to stand up for those. And we need the business community to join right along with us to fight for that. Because you know what? If you want to live in a state that embraces the free market economy, Texans do that. If you want to live in a state that embraces individual responsibility, that's what Texans stand for. And those concepts should bring us together and should not divide us. Now, as Commissioner of Agriculture and working in the Senate, I have fought for tax cuts in both chambers of the legislature because tax money belongs to you, not to anyone in Austin. I have sued the Obama administration as Commissioner of Agriculture over job-killing EPA mandates because we need to use environmental science and not political science to make our decisions as a nation. These are things that all Texans believe in, I think, and is the reason that motivated me to run and to serve. And I don't want to talk more than 10 or 12 minutes here tonight, and then I want to answer questions that you might have because I want to hear from you and I want to answer what's on your mind. But I do want to talk to you about the things that got me involved. As Commissioner of Agriculture, I had landowners reach out to me over 3 years ago who are being chased off their property by violent drug cartel members, and Washington turned their backs on them. Our president came to El Paso, Texas, and said the border is safer than ever. Don't you feel better knowing that here tonight? It is in direct conflict to what we know the truth is, because pastures in South Texas are beaten down as low as this carpet from foot traffic going across it every night. And the solution for those in Washington is to give away citizenship like cotton candy at a county fair. And that undermines who we are as Americans. And we need to do differently than that and have a different path. And that's why I developed a 6-point plan to reform our failed immigration system that starts with border security and does not include amnesty. I want to be very welcoming as a nation. I want people that want to be an American to want to come to this country, but they need to come legally, not illegally. We don't need to throw away something as critical as citizenship when we're dealing with an issue like this. Now, I think we need to be a people that we don't care what your last name is, we don't care what your zip code is. We want people to perform. And that's where we need to have our standards. And I developed these principles. I have budget savings from my agency at the Department of Agriculture, and we gave grants to the Department of Public Safety to use in Operation Drawbridge. Now, I know people in East Texas know what a game camera is, don't you? Operation Drawbridge is a game camera that's equipped with a cell phone. It is put in strategic locations along our southern border. And since January of 2012, Operation Drawbridge has been responsible for the apprehension of over 21,000 people seeking illegal entry into our country and the confiscation of over 40 tons of narcotics. It's a low-cost, high-tech, high-impact solution working in cooperation with landowners. And I found out about this because I listened to those landowners, and I went to the border and I had meetings with them. We didn't have any press. We didn't have any cameras. I wanted those landowners to tell it like it was, and they did, and we developed these principles that will work. But right now, our nation is trying to pass the Gang of 8 bill that is just absolutely policy that will bring us down, not lift us up. And we have to fight against that. These are the things that I've been working on. It's been an honor to serve. But I want to tell you what I want to do as your next lieutenant governor. I want to fight for a secure border because Texas has 2/3 of our entire southern border. We have the second highest population of undocumented immigrants. I believe states need to lead once again. Washington has failed. Cannot come together, and states need to step forward with what these solutions are. It's the United States of America, not the United State of America. We have too many people today that thinks that our federal government created the states and not the other way around. And states need to stand up and defend our values and defend our ideas, and we can do this by bringing other states together around these principles and for us to use smart technology in a way in cooperation with our landowners to defend our borders. I also want to make certain that we never forget our free market enterprise system that creates jobs, not government. We need to make certain that we have a situation in Texas where we keep our taxes low, we keep our regulations fair, and we keep our courts honest. That's the way that we're going to grow jobs and build our economy. I want to make certain that when it comes to education in Texas, that we have a system that is both accountable and a quality education, and that we realize that we must reject issues and programs like C-Scope that seeks to interject unpatriotic and environmental extremism into the lesson plans that our children learn. And we need to make certain when it comes to that we do not have 181 politicians in Austin writing those lesson plans. We need to make certain that parents are engaged and the local business community have free and fair access, and what happened in Seascope should never happen again. We also need to make certain we don't have a federal government that is imposing their views and their ideas on our education system in Texas. Now, I've read the state constitution, and Article 7 says it's the state legislature's responsibility to provide for an efficient system of free public schools. I've read the United States Constitution. I've never seen that anywhere. Have you? The federal government needs to get out of that business, give us our money back, and leave us alone, and we'll do what we need to do. And that's why I'm running for lieutenant governor, is to be an unapologetic conservative when it comes to standing up for these values. I also want to do this. When it comes to the 10th Amendment, we as a state must be very smart in rejecting an intrusive, overbearing federal government that seeks to make our decisions for us. And Obamacare is the best example that we have. And if that doesn't wake up the American people, folks, I think we've got some real serious problems. Bigger than what we already know we have. Because there was an article this weekend that said Obamacare was sold so that people that are enrolled in Obamacare and the Medicaid expansion would not use the emergency room as often. Well, guess what? They're using it even more, aren't they? It went up. And the President of the United States lied to the American people about you won't lose your doctor, you won't lose your health plan, when they knew that wasn't the case. The scary part to me is, are the American people so jaded and used to being lied to by politicians, they're going to let them get away with that too? With you're here tonight, they're not going to. With the work that you're doing in holding people accountable at the local level, at the state level, and at our federal level, we do have a bright future for our nation. Now, Daniel's giving me the sign that if I want to take questions, I better bring this into a landing pretty quick. But there's a lot I want to talk about still. So I'm gonna start taking questions. But before I do, I want you to know how much time we have left, Mike. About 6 minutes. Okay. There's two precepts that guide my philosophy, that shape my decision making, that I want to share with you tonight. One is that I know our rights come from God, not man. I know that our rights are enshrined in our Constitution. It's responsibility of each generation to protect and defend those rights. I wish that patriotism was passed along genetically. Wouldn't we have the most patriotic country you've ever seen? But it's not. It's taught. And that's our responsibility. And yours, all of ours. The second thing is this, that the bigger that government gets, the more effectively it squeezes out those rights. It squeezes out families from fulfilling their roles. It squeezes out churches from fulfilling their role. The bigger the government gets, it squeezes out our free market enterprise system from being the job creator that it needs to be. And people need to be dependent on our free market system, not more government programs. So thank y'all for letting me be here with you tonight. And I want to answer questions that you might have. And Mike has a mic.
Any questions, just raise a hand and we'll get to you. Okay.
You say keep our courts honest. That's a wonderful thing. Have you thought of a plan for that?
And what I mean by keeping our courts honest is something that I've been a part of as a legislator, in having civil justice reform so that our courthouses are not used as a lottery system. They are used as a place where justice is dispensed. But I also recognize there is a great fear today that our courts are abandoning the two documents that they're supposed to rely on, our United States Constitution and our Texas Constitution. And as Lieutenant Governor, I will watch very closely to make certain that our judges and our legal system relies only on those two documents and not any other foreign elements, and that our United Nations are not influencing the courts here in the state of Texas, and I will fight for that as Lieutenant Governor. Right there.